Good morning. This is CoreTV News on the Hour. I am Martins Dixon. Residents of Michika and Baza towns of Adamawa have raised the alarm that contrary to the claims of military authorities, the towns have yet to be recaptured by federal troops from the violent Islamic sect Boko Haram, which overran the communities on penultimate Sunday. The residents lamented that the insurgents had maintained their grip on the two towns, alleging that the terrorists had continued to slaughter innocent people and raping women trapped in the towns while plundering property without anyone challenging them. A coalition of non-governmental organizations consisting of Christian Association of Nigeria, Michika Chapter, Civil Servants Forum, the Northern Christian Elders Forum, and Kamne Christian Community Forum at a press briefing at NUJ Press Center in Yola made the assertions. A spokesperson for the forum, Joel Billy, who is also the chairman of CAN in Michika, noted that a report by the military that its troops had recaptured Michika and Baza were untrue, saying the insurgents were still in control of the two communities. He added that following the inability of the soldiers to dislodge the insurgents from the town, many people that were trapped on mountains, mostly women and children, were dying of hunger. Senate President David Mark wants the federal government to confront and defeat Boko Haram insurgents before contemplating dialogue. Mark also advised the authorities to devise new strategies to defeat a group he insists is out to humiliate Nigeria as a sovereign nation. The Senate President made this known in his welcome address to senators after their annual recess. While noting that Nigeria is at war, Mark urged the federal lawmakers to cooperate with the government in its bid to confront the challenge headlong. The Senate President also stressed the need for the financiers of Boko Haram and their collaborators to be brought to book. The Senate has, on resumption from its summer recess, referred President Goodluck Jonathan's request for a $1 billion loan to fight insurgency to Senate Committee on Finance. The request, which was sent in just before senators began their recess, was read out by Senate Leader Victor Ndoma Egba and was promptly referred to the Finance Committee. The committee, headed by Senator Ahmed Makarfi, has 1 week to turn in this report for consideration. An army court-martial has sentenced 12 soldiers to death for inciting mutiny among troops engaged in the ongoing war against insurgency. The soldiers were said to be the ringleaders of troops who fired at the General Officer Commanding GOC of 7th Division, Abubakar Mohammed, in Maiduguri. 18 soldiers stood trial on a 6-count charge, but 12 were found guilty of mutiny and attempted murder and handed the death penalty. The report.
These are the 18 soldiers who were said to have led the May 15 mutiny in Maiduguri. For several weeks, they have been facing a court-martial away from media glare. But it's now Judgment Day, and for the first time, journalists were allowed into the venue of the court-martial. The soldiers, who are mostly privates, are facing a 6-count charge bordering on mutiny, an offense considered grievous in the military. Even their countenance showed how bad the situation is. The president of the court-martial gave an insight into the matter, and lawyers representing the soldiers pleaded for mercy.
The accused persons committed acts or acts of insubordination against their commander or against the command of 7th Division Nigerian Army. Under this head, prosecution provided the following evidence. Corporal Jaspo Braidalo, prior to his oral evidence in the court, PW2 Lieutenant Colonel Azenda averred in Exhibit P14 that Corporal Jasper, Corporal Fire Ono, and Private Ifeanyi played prominent roles in the unfortunate incident. He maintained his allegation in Exhibit P12 when he said in answer to question 29, which group of soldiers in your battalion revolted against the General Officer Commanding 7th Div? And he said Corporal Jasper Braidalo, Lance Corporal Friday Ono, and Private Ifeanyi Alukagbe should be able to help in this regard. In his answer to question 56, PW2 specifically pinned Corporal Jasper as one who inspired the rebellion, and that the 3 soldiers he mentioned were among the rampaging soldiers.
After the 9-member board returned from a short break, it was clear that the lawyer's plea failed to sway the military court. 12 of the 18 soldiers were found guilty on 3 of the 6 charges.
For count 5, Awo, you were found guilty. You are sentenced to 28 days IHL. 2010 NA of the 656912 Private Chocho Jeremiah. For count 6, you are reprimanded. IHL means imprisonment with hard labor. 28 days imprisonment with hard labor. And for count 6, you are reprimanded. 03 NA of the 53 of the 816 Lance Corporal Stephen Clement. For count 3, you were found guilty and you are therefore sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. But for count 4, mutiny, 2003 NA of the 53 of the 816 Lance Corporal Stephen Clement, you were found guilty for mutiny, therefore sentenced to death by firing squad.
5 others were discharged and acquitted, while one was found guilty of absenting himself from duty and is to spend 28 days in jail with hard labor. The court acknowledged the right of the soldiers to appeal the judgment, but also noted that the sentences were subject to confirmation by higher authorities.
The Nigerian Bar Association wants the military authorities to commute the death sentence passed on 12 soldiers to jail term. The soldiers were found guilty of leading a mutiny against their commanding officer during the ongoing war against insurgency, and NBA is seeking reprieve for them. Its newly elected President Augustine Alege made the call at its maiden press briefing on the inauguration of the Constitution Review Committee in Abuja.
The only appeal we make here is we are losing so many of our soldiers who are being killed by Boko Haram. Why then do we want to kill some by ourselves? At times like this, the country should, and the military should consider other forms of punishment other than capital punishment. But it's the law, and they are within their rights to exercise and apply their law. But those convicted also have a right of appeal, and we hope and pray that they will exercise their rights of appeal.
The European Union is committing 5.56 million euros, that's about 1.1 billion naira, to efforts to mop up small arms and light weapons from West Africa. The project is an intervention program that is designed to run in 6 ECOWAS member states for 3 years in the first instance. It will, among others, encourage voluntary surrender of weapons in return for community-based development projects. The project, which was launched on Thursday in Abuja, is to be managed by United Nations Development Team in conjunction with ECOWAS.
We mind to continue to provide this technical and financial assistance to our member states in support of the action plan for the implementation of the ECOWAS Convention on Small Arms and Light Weapons and other small arms control activities. This action will continue to be one of our regional priorities and is now necessary due to the fact that proliferation of small arms, emerging threats of terrorism, organized crime, and cross-border trafficking have actually increased within the past 3 years across the West African region.
The ECOWAS European Union Small Arms Project, with a total European Union contribution of 5.56 million euro, the European Union, ECOWAS and the UNDP take a joint and concrete step to address this menace to regional peace, security and development. As a first phase of response, this project will implement pilot weapons collection programs in 6 selected countries within the Mana River Union and the Sahel, namely Côte d'Ivoire, Guinea Forestière, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Northern Nigeria and Mali. Implemented over a 3-year period until June 2017, the specific aim is to strengthen community security through voluntary arms collection of small and light weapons in exchange for community development projects.
The federal government has assured the Ogoni community of its readiness to address the environmental challenges posed by oil spills. Minister of Petroleum, Diezani Olisamadueke, delivered the message at a two-day stakeholders meeting in Abuja. She also maintained actions will be taken on the outcome of the meeting to restore the Ogoni environment in line with the United Nations report.
On August the 4th, 2011, UNEP then submitted their report to the federal government of Nigeria, which for the first time placed in the public arena scientific and empirical evidence as to the nature, extent, and impact of hydrocarbon contamination in Ogoni land, provide a robust, independent, coordinated guidance for the surveillance and monitoring of all petroleum infrastructures in Nigeria, and of course, in regards to the issue at hand, it was also meant to implement the actionable recommendations of the UNEP Environmental Assessment Report on Ogoni land.
Our being here is actually a journey that started over 24 years ago, when the Ogoni people, having assessed their condition, decided to say enough is enough for the destruction of the environment. The Ogoni people at that point rose up and told the world that our environment had been destroyed, our life had been in peril, our water has been in peril, and our entire life is going down the road of extinction.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar moves against automatic ticket in the All Progressives Congress. Details of these and other stories after this break.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water, or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces, or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Former Vice President and Chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Atiku Abubakar, insists that there is no provision for automatic presidential ticket in the party. He argued that those pushing for it are people who are afraid of testing their popularity among party members. The former Vice President spoke with journalists on the sidelines of a political meeting in Abuja.
You know, the last convention, only the offices that were not contested were not up for elections. The offices that were contested, elections were held, they took place, and we stayed there. You see that we stayed there throughout the night, throughout until the following day, until the votes were counted and results announced. I have already said that there is nothing like automatic ticket. And those people who are asking for automatic ticket are definitely scared of a contest, because they might have been coming from a background or a political background that did not know contest before. And you know, the APC is an amalgamation of a number of political parties that came together, relinquished their identity into APC. So, but APC, as currently constituted, cannot escape an elective, primaries. There has to be. On what basis are you going to say it is automatic? There is no zoning. There is no allocation. And as they do in PDP, there is nothing like that. So on what basis?
With barely a month to the expiration of the tenure of Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi, the state government has inaugurated a transition committee which will ensure a seamless takeover or the administration of the state by the incoming government. Rashid was at the inauguration and files in this report.
While speaking at the inauguration of the Transition Committee at the Governor's Office in Ado-Ekiti, Ganiu Owolabi and Ebisheni Ajayi, who represent the outgoing and incoming administration, agreed that the process is timely and in accordance with standard transition practice.
In line with the usual practice, a transition committee is expected to make arrangements that will ensure a successful transition from an administration to a newly elected administration. This will also be the focus of this committee.
It is customary, it is in accordance with tradition for the outgoing government to interface with the incoming government.
The two are of the same opinion of the problem-solving nature of the transition.
Where facts are not available, people go to the remote market to source for it. This is an opportunity for us to be able to ask questions and to be able to get clarifications.
This forum will provide an opportunity to clarify issues where necessary, rather than leave anything in doubt or allow outright falsehood to be fed to the general public.
Meanwhile, the state government has directed its ministries, departments, and agencies to prepare all documents that will help the committee to deliver a seamless transition to the next government.
Preparatory to the committee's assignment, the ministries and press staff in the state were requested to prepare their handover notes for collation. This final report will be made available later.
It, however, remains to be seen if the cooperation presently being experienced among the transition committee members will stand the test of time. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado-Ekiti.
A non-governmental group, Women Arise, has condemned the September 22 resumption date for schools across the country as hasty and risky. The group cautions private and public schools not to resume until the case of Ebola is completely eradicated and the learning environment is well equipped with facilities for detecting Ebola virus disease positive patients. Omotayo Alo has the rest of the story.
Wash your hands with soap and water, always. Allen roundabout in Ikeja area of Lagos witnessed a crowd of Nigerians who have once again brought to the fore the importance of creating awareness on the Ebola virus disease as well as preaching against stigmatization. Some Nigerians, including actors present at the awareness campaign, say personal hygiene is key to preventing the virus.
For resumption, we should ensure that some of these schools get their toilets, get their environment very clean. It is important.
Ebola is not a joke, and what concerns everybody also concerns the comedian. We have seen what Ebola has done outside Nigeria. We've seen the number of lives it has taken. Even in our country, Nigeria, we've seen the number of lives it has taken. And we feel that it is our duty to come out and sensitize people. Let them know that personal hygiene is key.
I kick against them resulting on 22nd. They should first of all work hard to make sure that the the Ebola virus has been fully eradicated in Nigeria before allowing our kids resuming.
A Nigerian actor, Kola Olaya, attributes the Ebola disease to a wrath from God, while citing an example from the past.
To the best of my knowledge, there was a disease called Ogodo. This Ogodo has been, and anybody that this Ogodo is attacked, you see the same system this Ebola is that Ogodo. And anybody that catches that disease, they call them Ologodo in Yoruba land.
For campaign organizer and president of Women Arise, Joe Okeodumaki, the Ebola crisis can be overcome if Nigerians join efforts with government to make the disease a foregone conclusion.
They call that private schools are well equipped, that they should resume. Why public schools that are suspected that probably they don't have flowing taps, they are not well equipped, should not resume? That is not reasonable. Ebola knows no private or public schools. And I tell you that for once, we all have to sacrifice. For once, we all have to forget the fact that people belong to private or public school. We have to face this monster headlong.
Though the federal and Lagos state governments have performed creditably well at containing the spread of the deadly disease, Nigerians believe that more care should be put in place ahead of the school's resumption. Omotayo Alo, CoreTV News, Lagos.
You're watching CoreTV News on the hour. We'll take a break and we'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
Der Torschütze zum zwischenzeitlichen 1:1. Semenike schickt Musa, da ist Ahmed Musa und da ist der Ausgleich.
It's a beautiful Saturday evening in the city of Lagos.
Off the turn, Phelps had it, but then Matsui kept going.
Idols. 5 to shoot. Leonard does.
And of course, making a difference for all of us here from all our production. I hope all of that happens.
Both sides in the Scottish independence referendum debate have seized on a pledge by the three main Westminster parties to devolve more powers. The pledge, signed by David Cameron, Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg, also promises equitable sharing of resources and preserving the Barnett funding formula. The Yes campaign described it as an insult to voters, and that's why it had taken so long to offer. The pledge, signed by the Conservative, Labour and Lib Dem leaders, appears on the front of the Daily Record newspaper. The first part of the agreement promises extensive new powers for the Scottish Parliament, delivered by the process and to the timetable agreed by the three parties. The second says the leaders agree that the UK exists to ensure opportunity and security for all and sharing our resources equitably. The third categorically states that the final say on the funding of the NHS will lie with the Scottish Government in case of the continuation of the Barnett allocation for resources and the powers of the Scottish Parliament to raise revenue. The Barnett formula is a method used to determine the distribution of public spending around the United Kingdom. And that has been the news on this hour. Thank you for joining us. News comes your way on top of the hour every hour. I'm Martin Dixon, and have a good morning.